If you have been paying attention at all, you will definitely know that China has been really taking off recently when it comes to the world of video game development. It's been in the past decade and really even just the past few years, they've really been exploding in their output and even the quality of the output. It's not just quantity, it's also quality. You got games like Genshin Impact. This has been out now for about 5 years. This has been developed by MiHoYo and it has just absolutely dominated. In fact, going back 5 years from now, it was actually the biggest ever international launch for a Chinese video game, and to this day, 5 years later, it continues to be extremely just a dominating game, and even extremely relevant, even in terms of American gamers and Western gamers. It even has quite a bit of a big audience. And, well, it turns out there is a PlayStation exec. He was actually a huge PlayStation exec. He just retired this year. This is Shuhei Yoshida. He was interviewed and he talked a bit about this. He's definitely somebody with quite a bit of big credentials. So this comes from this website, this article actually from 4Gamer, and it has been translated. It's just basically a back and forth between Shuhei and the interviewer. But specifically at one point he was asked about Chinese video games, Chinese video game development specifically, and he said, yes, the speed of development in China is incredible. People are transferred quickly, and this is translated, by the way. I don't really know what he means by transferred. I think he means just people are moving around in the video game development industry in China just at a rapid pace. They're working very fast, and he says game development moves quickly. He says, when I spoke with MiHoYo before, we talked about how it would be difficult to create games like MiHoYo's in Japan. There are legal issues and so on, kind of legal constraints, legal roadblocks. I think that's what he is referring to, maybe like AI stuff and a lot of other factors. And he says, I wonder if there are aspects of it that Japanese game developers cannot imitate. I think one of the reasons why Chinese games are so strong is that they can invest a lot of people and they have an environment where they can work long hours. And he says, of course, we don't know what the future holds, but for now, that is a big factor. And yes, indeed, I definitely agree with that. Some of it might not be entirely ethical considering how you look at it. I mean, maybe these long hours that Chinese game developers can work, you could kind of look at it and say that, yeah, maybe it's not so great, and maybe it's good that we have laws against that. And as I said, AI, I think, is a big factor here, especially I know in the US and maybe even Japan. Now, Japan I'm not as familiar with in terms of their AI limitations, like legally. To my knowledge, there's a bit of legal roadblocks that do come in the way in the US with AI use in game development, mainly because it can take a lot of jobs, and like voice actors, for example, they have been kind of in the spotlight recently because some of their jobs have kind of been taken over, in part, I guess, by AI. What I'm getting at is that whether you like it or not, I really don't think that China probably has as much of the legal constraints on things like AI and the long work hours, and overall, they can pump out games that are not only high in quantity, but it turns out high, very, very high in quality. As Shuhei said, I am also very, very interested to see what the future will hold for Chinese video games.